Hi everyone, it's nice to see you again in our Network States and New Countries webinar series today. We are having our webinar number 4, covering the power components. Many of you have already watched and have already participated also in the previous 3 webinars covering the introductory webinar, what the Network States and New Countries are, the land acquisition topic, how to get land. In the end of the day, you need land to build something, and then we covered the ideologies, identities topic, and now today we are covering this power components because. Um, Many of us consider Network States New Countries movement as something like a very political, social, and innovative movement, global stage. And for this, we definitely need power, and we also need to understand what power components are and what we need actually to succeed. And today, I am very happy to introduce um, uh, our speakers. So the first speaker will be Hugo from Tools for the Commons from Brazil. Hugo, thanks a lot for your time. And Hugo will speak after me when I'm done with the introductory remarks. Then we have Sevan from Highland Project from the US. And Sevan, thanks to you also for your time. And then we have Ilia from Internet Nation Lab. By the way, on the flyer, we made a mistake. We wrote the National Lab, so it's Internet Nation Lab, and Ilia has been active in the field for many years. Ilia, thanks a lot also for your time and input. Basically, a couple of words from me uh, before Hugo steps in. Actually, I have been thinking a lot on this concept of how to deal with this power issue, and to understand how the nation states, network states, and the new countries establishments like free cities, free countries, this new concept. As Ilya says, by the way, I'm quoting Ilya now. Ilya says that this is the fourth establishment. But because we have nation states, religious institutions, and corporations as 3 establishments, and what we are pursuing now is the fourth establishment. I mean, like this fourth establishment, how to acquire power, how to get power, actual power, in order to deliver uh, what you promise to your followers, to your supporters, to your people. So this is a very big challenge, I think, because it's a new thing, and most people have been used to nation state concept, this corporations concept that those institutions deliver. So when I say power, I personally uh, I'm thinking of many aspects of power, right? Like economic power, financial power, um, ideological power, very important thing. Um, like social power, but also military power, judicial power. These are things that we definitely need to consider when we try to build an institutional or organizational structure like network states, free cities, and and uh, and especially when we are also dealing with these new countries recognition stuff. For example, we have Liberland as an example, right? We definitely are getting challenged by traditional powers, and in terms of states, in terms of military, police, and everything. So I truly think that the network states have advantage, will have advantage uh, um, over the current establishments, why I'm saying this, because I still think that having people everywhere, right? I mean, imagine having building a network state and having reached to many places, like, and using your lobbying resources, diplomatic resources, your financial resources. You definitely will have advantage over the classic traditional power institution. But also, I have also been thinking of this network state. Uh, Private military companies now, they are very famous, right? They are popular, but these type of military establishments also, like, at some point when the network states advance further, they will definitely also try or think of building up military power. This will be a very interesting challenge. I think in the first webinar I mentioned about an American Army officer who published about network state army fighting the US Army in 2050, some 25 years later, 26 years later, that as a possibility. And this is written by an acting Pentagon officer, which is very interesting. So it means that definitely we are going to see this type of things. I mean, like, because if we truly want to establish an institutional thing, like a network state or a free city, a free country, that we want to survive for a long time, we definitely need to also think of its protection, and whether it will be military protection or another way. We definitely need to take care of it. So that's why this power component stuff is very interesting. And one thing that has always been interesting, at least to me, was how to reach people's not only brains but also hearts. I think this will be the biggest level, I mean, highest power level that we could have. Like imagine, I mean, millions of people following this movement, or even billions of people, and getting attached to it. That will be the end of current establishments, or at least the reshuffle of current establishments. So to sum up, is that, like we need to take care of actual power institutions, and that's through politics. That's pure politics, actually. That's why what I would urge to my colleagues, to my fellows, peers in the network state new countries movement, is that never say that this is not a political. Definitely it is a political thing, because you're challenging the traditional establishment. It's politics. You're building something new, and it's pure politics, and it's even high level politics. And high level politics also requires high level solutions, and high level solutions cannot be sustained without high level power, which is military, judicial, ideological. And that's one thing. And the second is that if we can think of ideologically advancing even further, and I have always been thinking of shooting movies and bombing the entertainment industry, in order to get the youngsters into our circle. Like, I mean, kind of, you try to reach their hearts, not only their brains, like writing articles and analyzing, but also their hearts, using art and all this stuff. So these are some concepts that I have been thinking. But and also, yeah, I mean, ethnic power is also important. Like, I mean, engaging diasporas together, and bringing them, that, guys, you are in diaspora, so you have huge power that is not exercised. So this type of establishment can help you fully exercise your power, your and make your voices heard in your communities, and in the countries that you are living in. So these are things that we should think on, I think, in order to succeed on very high political level, and in the end of the day, enter into global decision making process. So that's from me, and thanks a lot again for your attendance. And let's start from Hugo. Hugo, please, stage is yours. Just reminding that each of you have 10 minutes for presentation, and after that we will have a Q&A session, questions and answers session, where we can discuss unanswered questions. Thank you again, and Hugo, stage is yours. If you need anything to share, just let us know.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for your time in a Sunday and invitation. I might be sharing my screen here, so let me check if I think it's working here.
Yeah.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
I can, yeah.
Okay, good. So let's right, so let's get started. So here we'll uncover a few aspects of power components for network states, and mostly with us drawing some comparisons with nation states. So it basically all starts with some definitions. So I'll be pretty quick here, but it's really important that we know what we're talking about. So when we discuss a network state, we always discuss what's the ability to manage the commons for a specific community as an operator, as an operating system of common goods and common services for a consensual community. Here, when we'll be defining a network state, is basically a phygital operating system to organize specific communities tied to some territories with a cloud first, network first, and land last, but land very quick approach. And then when you discuss coordination, I think it's important. Multiple nodes and multiple network states, and how could we already think about a protocol that connects all those distributed entities? So I think I would first start by why are we discussing network states and startup societies? And we often compare this with nation states, but here I will just start with a power element, which is a startup company. So I think 10, 20, 30 years ago, when we just wanted to change the status quo, it was all about building a very nice startup company. And why? Because we had some assumptions such as stable political landscape, a pretty good alignment, even philosophical alignment with nation states on keeping stable variables, maintaining a good physical infrastructure, being against social chaos, and basically maintain all things equal so that those kind of organizations could thrive. And then as entrepreneur, it was very easy because we just had to focus on technology and about the very problem we wanted to fix. And because all things equal were just working, we just had like to fix like a few go-to-market and very few items to drive massive social change and massive social impact. And now it's no longer possible, and it's increasingly challenged because of a very and increasingly unpredictable political climate that's based on very deteriorating metrics within and inter-states. Even the physical infrastructure of many nation states is not guaranteed, and the legal stability is not guaranteed as well. So this is why, if we want to drive social innovation, it's no longer about thinking about building new companies, but it's actually about building new operating systems for collaboration, such as startup societies and network state. And here is like a very quick illustration that I just took from Balaji here on how could those power components work from a networked level. So if we start with like a few nodes and then we extend to other nodes around the world, and then we build with the new residents an increasing population, annual income, and real estate footprint, then we could pretty quickly, with just less than 2 million digital residents, get to and which is just like an okay app in a startup world. We could very quickly end up to a network state with a GDP comparable to Hungary, Morocco, Kuwait, and Algeria, which is like very significant, with less than 2 million qualified citizens. And if we look at like an average, let's say Series B, Series C, Series C startup, that's basically what it's capable of with market dynamics and with startup dynamics. So if we shift this network state dynamics, and then we migrate IDs, and we migrate GDP, and we migrate engagement, and we migrate the media monetization of people based on their attention, it's actually feasible to get pretty quickly to these orders of magnitude. And then if we may zoom in a few aspects. So the first one is the source of funding. So basically, if you look at an income statement or a balance sheet of a nation state, we basically have on the revenue drivers, taxes, and we have the other source of funds beyond taxes is basically the ability to raise debt and to pump the money printer. And here, when we look at it for the past century, and mostly when we look at it for the past like 8 years, everybody has this in mind, but it's like extremely concerning, and there's no sign that the GDP ratios will be increasing. And here I'm looking at it from a debt to GDP, but it's not even debt to revenue. And if I look at it from a debt to revenue perspective, it's like probably 10 times worse, you know, as a ratio. So it's absolutely unsustainable. And even if the number one country in the world would be a company, by all means, it would be an absolute junk category, like below C for sure. And then when we look at it and we compare it to where is this money going, it's increasingly going like to defense spending, and with an increasing cost of debt for all countries. And that's true as well for and mostly for the supposedly developed world, which is basically pretty concerning from a financial and economic health perspective. And at the same time, we had like major shifts such as technology shifts. So here, when we get into technology components, I think we have the monetary component, where basically programmable software and like a robust auditable system that limits the currency supply in a very different fashion than those guys limit monetary supply. We basically have Bitcoin that has split money from the state back in 2009. And then we have like another very powerful technology, which is a defensive technology, which is cryptography. And cryptography basically guarantees privacy and guarantees a sort of to be immune to seizing data and intel and assets, which is extremely important when we fight against the printer, basically. So, and when we fight against the Web 2, that's increasingly controlled. And here, I think it's pretty fair to say that software has eaten the world, and the new institutions would be reimagined on a software first perspective. So those three tech aspects are very meaningful in terms of tools to build those new organizations. Here I wanted to touch base on a few data. So we basically have more than 5 billion people that are connected in the world today to the internet. So that's the addressable market of starting to build an internet first institution. And then when we look at it from just a social media perspective, it's like Facebook has more users than India, and Facebook has more users than China. So it's actually possible to build like a superpower from a engaged user perspective. And we have more than 500 million people using crypto. And at the same time, when we look at where the nation state is heading, we have more than 2 billion people that are going through a structural inflation of more than 10% a year for the past 10 years on average. So which shows like how those balance of powers are shifting. And then when we look at some cultural aspects, I think we are living in a world where it's increasingly global, it's increasingly connected, and it's true for education. We can have like very easily just going to YouTube, for instance, like international education. We can increasingly work together in remote places with a remote job that is reshaping the future of work. And even from a communication perspective, now we have direct media and decentralized media that radically changes communication. And newspapers is the other strong printing machine power that sustain nation states. And then like a few specific items here that I think there's also nationalism that on a relative basis is eroding as well. So it was very clear that it was super okay to die for the nation like 80 years ago, but now it's actually questionable. And by all means, nationalism is stagnating or eroding in many places of the world. And we also spend less time with our neighbors, which means that the internet relevance versus the physical relevance is also moving. And then I think we get to a balance of power here where we have basically the giants of the internet, of what could have been the starting point of a nation state that have been attacked very strongly by the big blocks we have. So like Zuckerberg by the US, Jack Ma by China. And in Brazil now we have like Elon and the supreme judge of Brazil that have been fighting super hard for the past 3 weeks, that really show this new kind of imbalance. So I will close here, maybe like with 3 pictures and frameworks that I think quite relevant to summarize the balance of power. So the first one is like this comparison. So from the tools, we are switching from maps, printing, and guns to smart contracts, software, and crypto as the main tools that are relevant from a balance of power perspective. Second, I think every single hard and soft power is being reinvented by the network state. So crypto, software, social network, tokenization, decentralized media, and even diplomatic recognition. And the last one would be this one, like I think when we zoom out and we look at it from a historical perspective, those tools that were sustaining the powers of the operating systems of all organizations have always followed the like massive tech shifts with a strong social onboarding of those tech tools, and that subsequently changed the system. So we had empires sustained by scribes and swords. We had feudalism subscribed by riding and castles and fortresses. We had monarchies sustained by pretty much the same tools that are sustaining nation states. That's basically printing and gun. And now we are in this new shift that I think will open a new chapter. So that's it for this presentation. And yeah, thanks for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Hugo. Thanks a lot for the presentation and for remarks, interesting remarks. Next speaker is Sevan from Highland Project. Sevan, stage is yours. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Vahram. And it's great that you're coordinating this. And unfortunately, I missed some of it because I didn't have service, but very interesting topic. So to introduce myself, I'm a project coordinator at professionally right now, my job is I'm a project coordinator at a Japanese pharmaceutical company, and I live here in America. And I'm also project coordinating something else called the Highland Project, and it is a initiative that's modeled after the Free State Project, which started 20 years ago with the intention of getting 20,000 people that self-identified as libertarians to move to New Hampshire. And by that metric of getting 20,000 people to agree to do something, they were successful. I think probably, maybe 20,000 people signed, maybe only 10,000 people moved, but regardless, it's, successful in shaping the environment of New Hampshire's political landscape and social landscape to some degree, and a growing degree. And why I bring that up and why it's something that we're modeling our project after is that the libertarian folks and Armenian folks share a lot of similarities that I think understanding, how we operate as a people influences, for our specific context, if we want to imagine what a network state could look like, it needs to take into consideration those proclivities, those personality traits. And so what do I mean by that? Libertarians don't like being told what to do, nor do Armenians. Many of them, want to be the boss, and and sort of stubborn, sort of individualistic. And so, given that how were they able to get 20,000 people to sign up and move to New Hampshire, or rather 20,000 people to sign up, 10,000 to move? And the reason they were able to do that is because the people that coordinated the Free State Project were mindful of this behavior, of this personality type, and so they really were not prescriptive. They didn't say, you're going to come move to New Hampshire and do this, that, or the other thing. We're not going to create a political party. We're not going to live in this particular town and do this particular job. We're not going to all join the same club. In fact, they didn't say anything about what you would do when you moved to New Hampshire. It was simply, do you identify as libertarian? Make a pledge saying you'll move. So the one action that they coordinated was the movement. And in doing so, the service that was provided as like a filter, who's moving? People that self-identify as libertarians. And they provided help and facilitation to make the move simple. So we're copying that. And I guess before I get too detailed into what our project is and why we're doing it, you know, when I think of like what is the network state and why is it relevant to what we're discussing here with Highland Project, is like, you know, the network state is sort of the supernation, right? It's sitting on top of the networks, the nation states. They are not necessarily adversarial. They could perhaps even be complementary. And so, you know, the idea of like carving out a nation of our own, you know, is desirable in many ways, but also extremely difficult and perhaps unnecessary. And the way I envision what a network state will be is it's going to be something that's similar to how the Free State Project operated, in the sense that it's not prescriptive. No one's going to come about and have a very highly detailed explanation of how this network state is going to form. It's going to happen through this concept called emergent order. And it's going to happen in a way where the individuals that want to make up this network state have come up with solutions that solve their local problems. So keep that in mind as I sort of explain the Highland Project, and then, you know, you can sort of piece together why it's relevant to this greater conversation, which is a fantastic conversation to be having. So the Highland Project, the first version of this, the first implementation of the Highland Project, is called the Tennessee Highland Project. And some more background, right? So my I'm like a third and a half generation Armenian American. So some of my grandparents were here 3 generations back after the genocide, and my dad's like a first generation immigrant. So my grandpa on my mother's side, he started an Armenian church in Houston, right? So he, in a lot of ways, was like the antecedent to this, right? Because I like to think of the Armenian church as like a proto network state, right? It exists in other nation states, but it provides some level of service, primarily in like the cultural and spiritual sphere. And so he was drawn to Houston because of work, because of the oil industry, as are most people that end up in Houston at the time. And that was the magnet, and it brought in Armenians. And then the natural thing to do was to like go through the phone book, find Armenians, raise money, and work together to build a church and a community. And they were successful at that. The Houston Armenian community is thriving, you know, as far as I know. The church is still there. So fast forward to today, and there are people who, many people, not just myself, who have the luxury of working from home and being very mindful of the type of lifestyle they'd like and where they would like to live. And for those folks, if you want to optimize for various things such as low taxes, high level of personal freedom, connection with nature. I mean, like I just parked in some random thing here. Let's see if I can show you. It's like quite a beautiful place. All right, that's sort of not the point, I guess. I mean, I don't know if this is coming through, but you know, it's like beautiful wooded, you know, pristine nature. Looks very similar to like Dilijan, northern Armenia, parts of western Armenia. It was like pretty place. So if you want that, and I want that, then you sort of have to sacrifice giving up having an Armenian community, especially if you want like a rural lifestyle. Because the Armenian communities in America are centered around, you know, Los Angeles, and around California, around New Jersey, New York, around Michigan, around Massachusetts. So like not places that necessarily check those boxes. And then and the other sort of significant thing here is that like the juice has not been squeezed, so to speak. Like there's lots of, this is like the frontier in a sense. Like there's opportunity here. You can invest in developing this place. It's not already developed. We're coming in and trying to play catch up. So for all those reasons, we're starting with Tennessee as our first implementation. And our goal is to get 360 Armenians to pledge to move to about an hour east of Nashville, Tennessee, to a county called DeKalb County. And that's it. We're not prescriptive of what you do when we get there. Now, presumably, there's also some filters in place, such as, you know, we're trying to find Armenians that are ideologically similar to us, so someone that we would actually want to form a community with, not just simply that they identify as Armenian, but that they value similar things. And they're very fairly high level things that I could just sort of summarize as like property values and liberty, essentially. And so we started this project in earnest about a month ago. We have 13 pledges, including myself and my family. I'm currently in Tennessee, sort of scoping it out. Some of us have already moved. Some of us have committed to moving within the next 6 months. And, you know, so there's really like a short, medium, and long-term goal for this project. The short-term goal is to be able to raise our kids in an Armenian community in this area, you know, not have to give that up. So that's, you know, that's the main draw at the moment. The medium-term goal for the Highland project, not necessarily the Tennessee Highland project, is to show that it can work within the Armenian context, and then strategically place and develop Armenian communities in places where there currently are none. And this could be useful in many geopolitical instances. You know, think about swing states and federal voting, you know, as it relates to like supporting like the Republic of Armenia, for instance. You know, if Artsakhi family is in Los Angeles, you know, great. There's an Armenian community there, support them, but you know, their vote's not going to help Armenia because California's vote is, you know, sort of predetermined. Whereas if they were in Ohio, that would be significantly different. So with that being said, that's a medium-term goal. And then long-term goal is to essentially operate as a node in a larger network state. And the way I envision the network state playing out, as I alluded to earlier, is that there would be local nodes, local sort of self-encapsulated units, right? They would probably have their own token, their own sort of financial model, their own community, solving their own problem. And other folks don't necessarily need to be involved with that because, you know, unless you live here with me, like in my community, how much would you really care? I mean, really, all you probably would care about is that, like, you wouldn't want to hear that the Armenians here are being, like, harmed, right? Killed, expelled, stuff like that. And I think that's probably true across the board, regardless of where Armenians live. You know, I don't necessarily care how Argentinian Armenians are living, but I want to know that they're safe, and I want to learn from them. It's interesting, but I don't plan to like tell them how to live, and I don't want to govern them. I don't want them to govern me, for instance. So just sort of final thoughts really is that supposing these communities form that are new, it presents an opportunity to use new governance technology, such as tokenization, to create like a mini network state. And I don't think network state's the right terminology in that sense, you know, like a network city state, or just essentially a community that uses, you know, innovative.
Sevan, could you please sum up already because we are out of time? Please sum up.
I'm sorry, I wasn't keeping track. Yeah. Okay. So to finish up, that's it basically. This thing can grow to be a node of a larger thing, like a federation of similar projects and existing communities and new communities.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sevan, for presenting the Highland project and presenting the what I call the ethnic power, diaspora power, and how to build up new communities. Thanks a lot. Ilia, stage is yours, please.
Yes, hello to everyone. My name is Ilia. I will be happy to share some knowledge about the power of communities, network states, and whatever. So let's start. I think, so not we think, there is three things which makes the source of the power. So it's IPG, ideas, principles, and goals. So this is actually the source of the power of any community, and also it's a source of the power for network states as the more high level of the communities. So every network state which organize, and there is a lot of network states organizers right now, need to answer three questions. So why people should unite in this network state? So it means the idea, why they united. It can be anything. We can't limit this, so the ideas can be anything, and the people can unite around this idea. The second thing, what is the principles of this network state? How it works? How the people can enter it? How they will be kicked out? What is good, what is bad in this network state? How it actually works? And the third question is, what are the goals of this network state? It can be a very small goals for, I don't know, like half a year, 1 month. It can be big goals for centuries. So these all actually answers and creates all other power things. So for example, when we talk about the power of the media, so this media should say something to other people. It should create some news, create something for them. So this is an idea comes. So the media shows how this idea works. And all the other things, all the other kinds of the powers are answers actually this question. So I think this IPG is the most important source of the power. And the most network states, which you can see right now, they make a very big text. So they say, for example, like they have like pages of some things, how it works and like this, which very, very difficult to read. And actually nobody reads it. So one of the things when we create the power, so the source of the power, the things that are equal and understandable for all people, because we now all live we have a lot of complicated things. Actually, all the national states works with the goals, principles, and ideas also. But they're very, very complicated. You know this, all the judgment systems in every country, so you need to. So the difference of the network states, that the simplicity and understandable for all the people who can join this. So this makes the idea and the power of this network states viral, because it's a connection of the people. For example, people in the network state cannot see each other all their life, but they can be in one state, they can be united. For example, as soon as our organizers are Armenians, so for example, the Armenian network state, could you answer the question, can the people who are not Armenians can be in an Armenian network state and dedicate their power, dedicate their knowledge to this network state? So why not? Yes, so whenever it can be national network state, it can work. So, and as about talking general about the powers which network state can create, I think that one of the biggest power that network state can create, it's a judgment system, alternative judgment system, actually alternative court. So the community of the people, and is more representable, this community, can create their own judgment system and say about the things what's happening around them, about their vision. So make a court decision that this is right and this is wrong. And after these decisions, whenever they have no other powers, they don't have, I don't know, police, militaries, or whenever, but they can say, yes, we think that this question is supposed to be solved like this, and put it in the waiting list until this network state will become so powerful that can put this decision into real life. This is a very interesting thing and a very interesting perception on the power of the network state. So more or less, the power system of the network states, it can be very different, but I think this is the basis. So as soon as we don't have a lot of time, so if you have some questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ilia, for very interesting remarks. Okay, very good. So we have 15 minutes for questions and answer session. If we have any, I have a couple of questions. But before I step in, if anyone else wants to make any comments or has any questions, and including the speakers, by the way, to each other or to the audience, please welcome. Please, if anyone wants to speak, just raise your hand. Or okay, Joshua, you have a question. Please unmute. Or Philajam, could you please unmute Joshua?
Hey, thank you, man.
Yeah, here we go.
Appreciate everybody and your comments and feedback. Hugo, I've chatted with you a while ago and been following for a while. I appreciate the tools. We have a lot of conversations, of course, almost competition between projects on governance and power, right? So everybody's working in different spaces. How do we come up with solutions for this? We're all working on different things. How much effort is anybody putting towards the integration between all these nodes, between all these projects? In my sense, the integration of all of these platforms is actually where incredible power comes from. And that's how we achieve the scale that like Hugo was showing earlier. So just some thoughts, if anybody has them, on what is the integration between our projects, between platforms, the real decentralization.
Ilia, he wants to answer. Please. Yeah.
Yes, so returning back to my speech, we need to create the principles of unity. We need to create the principles how all the projects that now on the scale, now on this field, can unite and empower each other. So this means we need to create a very simple principles, promote it, and create some kind of the field whenever, like in internet or whenever, where you can base it and connect them. So there should be arrive a group of the people who will take this job to administrate and to connect different projects with another, to moderate these connections, to facilitate, it's the best word for that, these connections on the base of creative principles. So this is the start. Of course, this will be a very long way and very difficult because every leaders are different, the projects are different, the people are different, and everybody says that I am the boss. So step by step, on the same principles, which can be made, like as I said, very, very simple, we can create this. So actually, the thing is that we need to start to do it. We can start it even from tomorrow, even from this group, and this will work.
Thank you, Ilia. If anyone else has a comment on this, Hugo.
Yeah, happy to complement here. So, so I think it's starting to happen. So I have a bias because, like, I think I'm younger, and I'm also younger into that specific industry and way to look at it. But I see that it's coming at multiple cycles. So if you look at it like a few years ago, who was typically thinking and only thinking about it? It was like either very radical projects like the Seasteading Institute that were like pre-internet and typically that were not built based on internet tools. They were built like on very creative tools, you know, to make this happen, that were probably closer to the defying the laws of physics than defying, you know, the laws of the network, you know. So we had this. Then we had just dissidents that were making like frontal attacks to the system and say, okay, so we're going to fight the system. So like either defying the system in a frontal basis, either defying the laws of physics, or trying to move the system from the inside with like extremist parties, which is basically what we are starting to see happening like all across the world. And it makes sense, because if you want to maintain a falling system in place, you need to create a lot of fear and to only to give like very extremistic alternatives, you know, that will all maintain fears to maintain the status quo. And what is now quite different is that I think that tech entrepreneurs that are like second time, third time founders, and I think it's always like big network of entrepreneurs building on top of a specific technology with like some clear principles in mind aligned. I think I can see it happen. And I have my bias, obviously, because I'm coming from the Web2 industry, trying to build platforms, and mostly in the context of emerging and frontier markets. But I saw it already in Africa, in Latin America, and in Asia, that to create new standards with tech platforms, basically, that are now social networks, or that are now like consumption platforms. And the very people who actually built this in a very capitalistic world, and in very, okay, so I want to like make my company and then play the capital game. Now many of them want to play like the social and institutional game, and to go even deeper in this infrastructure. And irrespective of where you are coming from, you can come from education and you want to go deeper at the root problem. You can come from finance and go even deeper to the root problem. You can come from media and build and go even deeper in the root problem. This is where I see like fantastic entrepreneurs like backing this industry and wanting to build and not complain on this industry, and build with the laws of the internet and the laws of money and the laws of ideas and like very modern tools. So this is what is giving me hope, and that is also driving me to build in this industry as an entrepreneur, and not as just a politician or just as an idealist. So I would probably see this like build a standard of the builders of this industry that have to constantly be very well connected to the communities and very well connected to even the laws of like humanisms, because many of them are just like very tech guys, and this is not the way you drive societies. But I would probably find the solution of unity on like those building blocks, with the first wave of entrepreneurs building this. That's pretty much the same thing as the ways of industrialists that built the bourgeoisie, and then that built, you know, the lobbyists of the current state. It started with just like a standard of industrialists that built this, you know, when the nobles fell, and then they took over power initially. So that's probably where I would bet on a potential unity, and having like a few like very strong human and idealists and anthropologists, probably like making a sort of sanity check on top of this. I would possibly bet on this.
Awesome, thanks a lot. Joshua, you actually raised a very important question that I have been also speaking about for many, in many talks of, in many conferences, seminars. So basically, this is one of the key things, because if we are talking about success, and success, in my opinion, is when you take part in global decision making and you have power. Your power vis-a-vis the nation states or corporations or even religious currents. So one of the key things is definitely that system that speaks to them, and not individual project like Armenian project, a Jewish project, I don't know, a British project, Irish project, English project, I don't know, this type of things, you know. Or cisheading project, or I don't know, this free city project or that free city. I think in this case, because in the end of the day, these people, I think I consider ourselves in this fourth establishment, as I said. So I would like to have this one flag for this fourth establishment people, like that very big road that takes us to success. And yeah, I think as Ilia said, it needs an effort, a team to work on, but also Hugo mentioned about that we are planting the seeds of this, and maybe very soon we will see those people who will start actually working on implementing it, or maybe we can take that responsibility and work on them. And Hugo mentioned actually very wisely about this important cultural, social, anthropological thing that sometimes tech guys try to ignore. Unfortunately, this is very important, because in the end of the day, we are talking about humans and about society, social currents, and these must be addressed on higher level than technology. And I would say that if we think on starting working on this type of things from today, we definitely need also to have this very high level political mindset within ourselves, because we will be dealing with the current world, and we are coming from the future world and talking to the current world, to the incumbent world. This is very important, having that political mindset. I will be super happy personally to work on this type of establishment, and I think all of us here would be very happy to work on this. Yeah, Joshua, you have a comment on this, please, and then we'll take the second question.
Yeah, I saw Ilia was also putting his hand there. So, but I was going to say really quick, what I hear from both of you, Hugo and Vahram, is you said raise the flag, the one independent, united flag, and we're talking about organizations, really, a representation, a body that's really able to actually iterate on the solutions, the integration solution points. We're talking about actual economic integrations between communities. We're talking about the governance integrations complementing different communities. And I think probably most everybody in here ended up in a variety of Telegram groups and Discords and stuff, maybe after October, a certain conference a lot of folks went to. And I watched all of that happen. Everybody was like, we need to unify. And all those unifying efforts were their own projects, were little projects, and everybody wanted to run the project. So there's still no unification coming out of that. And so I'm asking hard questions to people, because I'm trying to figure out, like, where are we hanging up on this, and how do we push through this, right?
So here I might have like just a consideration or a reading. So I think if we look at like the step by step, and I have no final answer, but I think it's to be built. But if we look, okay, so let's suppose that in 2024, we are at year 2 of trying to unite this. So let's suppose that year 1 was like, okay, like a few people, like if you look at Zuzalu, if you look at Vitalik, if we look at Primavera, if we look at Balaji, if we look at like many different chapters, Prospera recently, like, so if we think that they planted the flag of somehow year 0 of, okay, we have nation states trying to innovate here. We have like very large blockchains and crypto trying to innovate here. We have people who have been trying to break their head on politics, trying to do this. We had people who have been somehow dissidents of the laws of network states or dissidents of the laws of physics who are also united. And all those people like went together. We have people from Web 2 came in. And so let's say that last year was year 0, so year 1. So now if we are at year 2, I think there's just nothing much to unite beyond ideas. And ideas have been united last year, actually. So now I think I see it with an interesting eye. I had the same concern of you like a few months ago, but now I feel pretty okay, because all this is like creating forks. And if we look at peer-to-peer networks, mostly forks is a great thing. This is what makes your network huge, actually. And we see like forks everywhere. So if you look at Zuzalu, it's like almost 20 different projects right now, and everybody is in its bubble, his or her bubble. But nobody is too far away from like one very simple connection of trying to understand of how to get to. So I would really like to get to year 3 and year 4 with tens and hundreds of actual projects, because everything I saw last year was pretty much nothing. And I think that in a year from now, we'll have like tens and hundreds of small or mid or big projects, and then we would have like something material just to put together. But now if we unite, we just unite ideas, and ideas don't change the world. So I think we need to unite projects that are being executed to start building some patterns on top of this. Or at least that's what I would like to see, and there might be hope here, hopefully.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Hugo. We can take just the second question and we finish. If there is anyone who has remarks or questions, please. If not, then maybe I'll make some comments. Ilia, you want? Okay, Ilia, go ahead.
Well, I can say that ideas are changing the world, and the last idea about the person who get to the sky changed all the world, and we are living in this world a long time. So returning back, I think we need to understand that network states, it's a part of the game. There is a network state, there is crypto communities, there is a tribes, there is a lot of other things which are not connected to the digital world, which are more spiritual communities. For example, the Burning Man. It's the greatest and the biggest community, which have nothing with the network states. And the thing is that it's very important to make a connection between the different communities and different knowledges of the people. So imagine how the crypto community can change the spiritual community, and the spiritual can change the crypto, and this vice versa and stuff like this. Of course, if you have a bunch of projects which go the same way, for example, crypto, they have a competition between each other, who is the best, and it works by itself. But when we are talking about the different projects and different ideas and different approaches to the solving of the world, they are different. And I have a question to Hugo. So my question is, how do you think, because it was very interesting in your presentation, the big numbers which show how much people are connected and how much people in this sphere and this sphere in crypto and whatever. But how do you think, what is the minimum amount of the united and coordinated people all together, which will really can affect the world? So I mean, what is this minimum quantity of the people which can really affect the world united? That's
critical mass, as you say.
yes,
Sorry for intervention.
yes. Minimum critical mass.
I would shoot a number. It's highly questionable, but without a better answer, I would say 3.5% of the global population being at least indirectly connected to the concept, which I think is actually possible. So like many, even private enterprises reach that number pretty fast. I think many religions did this, many nations did this. If you look at even centralized media platforms, many have this kind of reach, and just with the word of mouth and some virality, I think you can get there. So, and why this number? It's completely arbitrary. Maybe it's 10 times bigger, maybe it's 10 times less. I don't know. But just like out of the very few readings, and if someone has a better answer, like happy to be complimented here. But like many revolutions in that case around history have been done by minorities, even very small minorities, but very united and very organized minorities. And so some people have been trying to throw out this number, and I think I kind of agree with this, that a 3% super engaged minority in a large community can drive a much bigger change than a 51% disengaged community that basically like fakes the status quo. So there's a few articles. I mean, whether this is the truth, I don't know, but at least that's the best number I came out with if I had to shoot an answer here, which actually corresponds to around 300-400 million people.
Thanks a lot, Hugo, for giving numbers. Thanks a lot, Ilia, for this question. It's very interesting, definitely, to understand why, in the end of the day, how many people we need to make this movement successful. Well, I mean, we can definitely also learn from history, as Hugo mentioned, and also from nation states. Like, I mean, the political elites. I mean, how they behave and how they were born, right? So 1% or 2% or 3% of the population of any X country is kind of ruling the others and creating those institutions. But one thing that is very important is that time has changed. Time is flying faster now than it was doing before. So it means that maybe numbers will also change. What I'm trying to say is that the 20th century, so in 10 years in the 21st century, we can see more things than we saw in the entire 20th century. Just making a very dumb comment, but trying to say that now time is kind of flying faster. And so you need to catch up also with the time flight. So this means that that I think there is no answer, in my opinion, to this question. I think it's about the quality and not the quantity of people. If you have a good quality, and like Ilia mentioned about Jesus, I think he mentioned about Jesus, how Jesus Christ could kind of shake the foundations, right, of the Roman Empire, for example, or the entire humanity of his time. Like, if you bring good quality, then people would definitely follow. Or if we see like Gandhi or whoever, I mean, people, I mean, who could, with their ideas, could challenge the establishment, because they brought something new, something. But I mean, nowadays it's a bit more difficult because there is so much information, so you cannot differentiate the quality, what is good, and people do not trust each other in the entire world. So here, I think one of the key things is definitely, in my opinion, is this good traction also. I think you need to show traction so people can join, because going and telling people that, oh, we are the best guys, look what best ideas we have, etc., etc. People, I think, need to see why, because there is so much information now around the globe, so that people do not even spend the time now to differentiate, to understand who is who. I think the traction is also a good idea to think on. That's why, I mean, when you show some power, some teeth, it's already traction, because people, in my opinion, in politics, I think in anthropology, people used to identify themselves also to power, to strength. I mean, they would go and attach themselves to powerful groups, to powerful establishments, which is very also interesting anthropological thing to kind of study and understand. But this needs to be studied thoroughly to understand. But before, I mean, on parallel, we definitely need to build this unity platform, if we call it that way, unity platform, because that's how, because on your way, when you build it on your way, you find new things, and you see that, wow, there was a simple thing, as I think Einstein once said, that put things as simple as possible, if I am not mistaken, right? That because all big problems have very simple answers, simple solutions. So I think, yeah, one of the key steps is at least to address the unity platform build up, at least to address it. Maybe we can find out many things there, and this is pure politics, as I said. I mean, because we are dealing with ourselves and also with outsiders. Imagine that outsiders know that there is a big platform being built up. How much interest we will get from outsiders if we show some teeth, show some strength. I'm talking about special services. I'm talking about armies, military. I'm talking about, because you kind of challenge the current establishments, and those who control the current establishment would not be very happy. But if you do it in the right way, so maybe many people from those circles will also be very interested in leaving their circle and coming to your circle. So these are things that needs to be asked. This is how politics and history has been working for thousands of years. So yeah, thanks a lot. We are already out of time because we already 9 minutes late. Thanks a lot again for your remarks, comments, presentations. We are going to continue these webinars and to answer all these questions to, in the end of the day, to build something which is sustainable. And the next webinar will probably be about these network state new countries, politics and diplomacy. Will probably be about it. I mean, how to deal with actual relationship building with other actors. But we will definitely discuss before announcing it. So it will take place next month. Please stay tuned, and thanks a lot again, everyone. See you, and yeah, let's build this Unity platform. Bye-bye.
Yeah, let's build it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye. Home.
Bye.